He was such a special prospect, so unique, that not even one of the best coaches in the history of the league knew how to use him at the beginning. Victor Wembanyama's skill set was so unseen, was so unimaginable, many scouts and fans knew before he debuted in the NBA. However, after jumping to the US, his ability to exceed expectations seems incredible. I mean, fans were expecting him to become a star in a few years. Instead, he's managed to do it in a few months. And now, people are wondering, what even is his ceiling? In a similar fashion to LeBron James, the Frenchman arrived with the label of the chosen one. The pressure he's had to endure since he was 16 years old has been inhuman. However, like King James during his first season, Wemby's managed to turn that possibility into a reality. The consequences? We've seen a type of defender that didn't exist until now. His dominance on this side of the court never ceases to amaze even the most skeptical, but what's frightening is that his offensive arsenal, which continues to progress day after day, has not yet reached even half of its potential. What really is his ceiling? And why the French center could end up breaking the balance of the NBA forever? Not even Greg Popovich, not even a coach who's been able to win 5 championships over 3 different eras has been able to understand Victor's potential from the start. During 2023, in the first 28 games of the generational center's career, his impact was already clear. But since the new year, Wemby's become an absolute beast. He stepped up a gear and has become a player who will be a clear all-star next season. But amidst all that, it's clear that the Spurs are not a good team. The lack of talent at the guard positions has caused ball movement to be a problem all season long for a franchise that's used to excellence. In fact, Pop's failed experiment with using Jeremy Sohan as a point guard probably slowed Wemby's growth on the offensive end. But as we've said, the center boosted his performance in 2024. Compared to the 2 months of the 2023 season, Victor's increased his averages in points, rebounds, assists, blocks, field goal percentage, three-point percentage, and free throw percentage. One way or another, the French center could compete to be the most improved player if the award was based on a single season alone. The reason behind this huge improvement is not only due to his God-given talent, but also his great mentality. Wembanyama may be one of the most coachable players to ever reach the NBA. That's not an exaggeration. The kid always listens with a hunger to improve, and he doesn't compromise on what he's told. Despite the Spurs' poor performance in which the team's players were unable to make entry passes to the French center, Wemby didn't protest. Quite the contrary, he continued to do what was best regardless of what was going on around him. Somehow it seems that one of the best prospects in the history of the sport lacks the ego that comes with most phenoms. And for the first few years of his career, this is the best thing that could help him. Mind you, ego is necessary in elite sport. It's impossible to be the best player in the league if your ego doesn't demand you to be. But ego is necessary once you already have reached your best version. Because although it might seem innocent, believing that you know everything beforehand or that you can figure it out by yourself can be counterproductive. Players like Ben Simmons were victims of stagnation because of their inability to listen and improve their game. Wembanyama, however, is the exact opposite. But not just with coaches. Victor seems to be a top-tier locker room guy. Gone are the wild theories that his teammates envied his attention and sabotaged his game so he couldn't shine. Everyone speaks well of him, and his body language shows his involvement in the team. Always active, always encouraging, and never complaining even though his star status is not being supported by an elite roster. These factors are much more important than people think. They're often overlooked, and they really do determine a player's long-term success. Granted, Wemby's nothing like the personality of players like Kobe, LeBron, or even MJ, who from the moment they came into the league demonstrated their alpha mentality to establish their dominance. But more like the mirror image of Tim Duncan, the greatest legend in Spurs history, is a perfect mold on which to model his career. Now, where he does resemble players like LeBron or Michael Jordan is that his rookie season has been stratospheric. In fact, when you think about it, is Victor Wembanyama having the best rookie season ever? I mean, the man is averaging 20.7 points, 10.4 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and 3.5 blocks per game, while contending for Defensive Player of the Year in his rookie season. If you were still wondering, no, there is no precedent for this. No rookie in history has even come close to reaching those averages. His dominance is so unreal that even the advanced stats show it. The Spurs with Wemby are one of the worst teams in the league, right? Well, don't wonder where the Spurs would be without him. So far this season, San Antonio concedes 8 more points per 100 possessions when the Frenchman is on the bench. His net rating is the second best of the entire rotation at negative 3.7 points per 100 possessions, only behind Trey Jones. In fact, when Victor's on the court, the Spurs are a better team than the Charlotte Hornets, Washington Wizards, Detroit Pistons, Portland Trail Blazers, Memphis Grizzlies, Toronto Raptors, and Utah Jazz in terms of net rating. But how does he do it? Wemby through the first season is already one of the most complete players in history, able to create a shot in the perimeter using his light and quick frame, as well as his masterful ball handling, able to use more and more moves and finishes from the low post where he'll become an unstoppable weapon, or simply being able to shoot from farther away than any center in the history of the league. The man shooting logo threes at 7'4". Let me put it another way. The man's forcing the other team's centers to contest a shot from the logo. Do you have any idea what this means for the evolution of basketball? On top of that, the center with his reach is probably the biggest lob threat in league history. But it's on the defensive end where his contribution is even more impressive. Wembanyama is currently the second favorite for bookmakers to win the Defensive Player of the Year award, only behind Rudy Gobert. And the reasons for this are many. First, his ability to defend other big men on the perimeter who pose a threat because of their shooting or ball handling. Second, because in addition to being a lob threat, his range also helps him on his defense. This allows him to help from anywhere on the court and reach where no player should reach. And third, for being the best defensive anchor in the league at 20 years of age, the paint is nearly impenetrable when the big Frenchman is on patrol. His complete two-way game has allowed him to survive and exceed expectations. People were calling him to be the player that was going to change basketball history, the generational player that would turn the NBA upside down. His rookie season so far is fulfilling those requirements. What's scary is not how good Wembanyama is. What's scary is how good he is relative to the experience he's had in the fastest-paced league in the world. All rookies have to go through a process of adapting to the league, and it takes time for them to understand the intricacies of the NBA. For Victor, this process is going much faster and much easier. And what this is causing is that the Spurs have become one of the most media-friendly teams in the league. The team won 27% of its games last season. As of today, they've won 22% of their games this season. The roster's arguably even worse, despite having landed the center, but somehow management is thrilled with what's happening. The Spurs have increased their TV ratings by 54% for the 2023-2024 season. The good news is that this terrible season won't happen forever. San Antonio, thanks to its austere plan, has accumulated 31 draft picks through 2029. They have the second most such assets in the league, behind only the Oklahoma City Thunder. With a roster devoid of toxic contracts, the Spurs are in a prime position to build around their franchise player without having to pay for any past mistakes. In a shorter time frame than it seems, Wemby will have the chance to show what he's capable of doing with a competitive team. And the bad news for the rest of the league is that the longer it takes, the more comfortable Victor will become in the NBA. After first developing his professional career in European basketball, Wemby had to adapt to the pace of the league. Now that he has, the center's progressively understanding the depths of pace and space theory. A generational player who will easily become a unique and unstoppable scorer. For now, we can all sit back and cherish this moment. We've just seen the beginnings of a player who will be talked about for 100 years.